back to the Snapback with T-Mac. We got a special guest on today. Lucky this guy could join us. I'm going to introduce him a little bit. Y'all know him. He was the number 3 pick overall in the 2008 draft, first round, of course. 2016 MVP, 2016 Offensive Player of the Year, 2016 First Team All-Pro, 2008 Rookie of the Year, 4-time Pro Bowler. And right now, this man sits 7th overall in all-time NFL in passing yards. And we're going to get into my campaign for you to get into the Hall of Fame. But in my Terrell Owens voice, this is my quarterback right here. Man, I appreciate you coming on with us, buddy.
No doubt, man. I am fired up to be on with you. Appreciate the introduction. Who would have thought,
man,
getting to know each other back in 2008, that's what, it would be. But I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man, I tell you, I enjoy watching. Of course, when I got done and I retired, I was your biggest fan. Enjoyed watching your career. Came to watch you guys play in the Super Bowl. And, now your career now going on to, I'm jealous. Talk about football. Talk about what you love doing forever. And, dude, I'm just going to tell you, do an amazing job. Guys like you and Romo, guys that see things happening before they happen. I enjoy watching those games.
Well, yeah, I appreciate it. It's been, it's weird, right? Like, I think there's always this part of us that just, you always see yourself as the player, right? And then it stops. And at some point you gotta do something else. But, I do feel lucky that, CBS has allowed me to continue to stay in the space that I like to be in. And it is fun, calling the games because, I still watch film like I did as a player during the week and watching these defenses. And then the thing I really like about it too is, you start this game at 1:00 or noon Central Time, whatever. And for the next 3 hours, it's like playing. You have no idea what's going to happen.
Right.
And you got to be able to react and kind of talk about those things. And so, it was a fun fall kind of doing that for the first time. I was lucky. I was surrounded by a really good crew of veteran people that kind of held my hand as you did back in 2008 when I had no idea when I had no idea what was going on, And so,
but I think back on that, Matt, 2008, your rookie year, and it was an unbelievable year, for you and for our team and the franchise. But I want to say all the years run together for me. But you opened up with a touchdown pass to Jenkins, right? Was that your first career attempt?
Yeah, first pass attempt, Mike Jenkins.
Yeah, that was
on the backside skinny post.
I can remember running down the field, man, the excitement, with the guys. And I think me and Claybo probably did a chest bump. But, you were special from the get-go. And people ask me all the time, one of the biggest questions I get, people find out or they realize that, who I am. Do you know Matt Ryan? Do you know the 3 I get? Do you know Matt Ryan? Did you play with Matt Ryan? Did you play with Mike Vick? Do you know Julio Jones? That's the most common questions I get. And, some great times. But your rookie year, when you came in, I can remember, I think it was an OTA. I think it was your first time to step in the huddle. And, we had some characters in that huddle with Roddy and Mike Turner. They were always giggling and cutting up going on. And you were ready to call the play, and you came in, and it was basically told everybody, all right, shut up. Here we go, and called the first play. And I'm like, I can remember looking at Claybo and was like, all right, this dude's got it. He's got some moxie, we're going to be all right. And just to watch your career, dude, your command, tell people all the time, you were or still are a pro's pro. Your approach to the game, the way you studied film, I look sometimes young guys coming in and they don't put the time in. They don't respect the game enough. And I think you did that from day one. I know you did that from day one. And it was such a pleasure to be part of your journey, man. You provided us to have some great times with the Falcons franchise.
Well, you're nice to say it. I do think back of that crew, kind of that 2008, 9, 10, whatever, that team that was together for 3-4 years. And you said it, it's the characters in the huddle, right? And I look, to my left. If I'm standing in the huddle, I look to my left. I got the 5 guys up front, Sam and Justin Blaylock and you and Tyson and Harvey and I'm this 23-year-old kid, right? and these are grown men in there, and I'm telling these guys to shut the F up, and
everybody respected it and loved it, man.
Yeah, and then I'm looking on the back end, right? And Mike Turner's laughing, giggling in that high-pitched, giggle that he has. Who knows what Roddy's talking about? It was a unique group of guys, right? And so I think back of it, like there's different waves of your career where you're with guys for a certain amount of time and then it kind of changes and moves on. But I think back on those teams, we had some really good teams, really good guys, and guys that, fought, hard for each other. And ultimately I look back on that and those are like the things I remember, right? How hard guys played for one another. And that was really the kind of secret to some of the success that we had as a team.
Yeah, kind of a hat tip to you. And I can remember, there were some games. Of course, I was pissed when you broke my consecutive start streak. And then Jake Matthews, as he has blown that away right now. Yeah. But it spoke to, I wasn't really pissed. I was happy for you. But your toughness, and I can remember I played for guys. I had a lot of quarterbacks during my career. The way you handled it, there were some games where you got tore up, quarterbacks get hit, but you never showed it, you never wanted us up front or your other teammates to see it. And I noticed that, I can remember one day, it was one of those games where you just got lit up and it was the next day in the training room and all the O-line, we were around there and you were like, oh yeah, I'm good, guys. No, I'm good. And most of the guys walked out and you were like, Mud, I'm hurting, brother. I'm hurting pretty good. But I respected that. It bugs me sometimes you see quarterbacks get on their guys in the wrong way, and, why don't y'all block this and that? You never did that. You respected us up front and knew how hard our job was. But the way you handled your business, that allowed guys to go out and do their best to protect you and try to keep you clean. And your toughness is one thing that I don't think gets talked about enough, man.
Well, I was, probably too dumb to do anything else, right? Like this is kind of the mindset that you have to have. But I always felt like we were in it together, though. Like it wasn't, and having a respect. Like the cool thing about football is, everybody's responsibilities and what they're asked to do are so different, right? Yeah. Like what you're trying to do up front, what tackles are trying to do on the outside, what I'm trying to do, whether it's throwing the ball or getting us into the right place, whatever that is, right? And then you got Tony Gonzalez and his job. Like everybody's responsibility is so different. And I think, understanding how difficult each position group is and the challenges that you have, I just always felt like, no one spot is more important than the others. Right. And so, we had to do it all together. And the other thing is that works both ways though, too, right? Like you can say that about me, but I would see the same from you guys too, right? You're out there doing everything you can to perform each week. And I knew how well prepared you guys were, how hard you would work, right? I would always panic on Sunday mornings because you guys would start chasing all the ghosts in your lockers that were just to the left of where I would sit. And then I'd be like, oh man, I thought these guys were ready. Now we're chasing ghosts over here. I thought I was prepared. Now I'm not sure if I was, but
that was one way we did it, Matt. And I like to, and I don't know if I did it too much, because we watched so much film and we watched it as a group, especially the Nasty Boys, we had a tight bond. And I think sometimes that's overlooked in NFL locker rooms, even college and high school locker rooms, is camaraderie and leadership and how tight you are as a group. And during those times, we had a special group. I mean, if everybody wanted to watch film, we wanted to make each other better. So we spent a lot of time, but we would watch film the night before. Me and Claybo would be in there and just make sure there's nothing, no stone unturned. You didn't miss anything. And then we would go sit in our lockers and you start to panic a little bit because you want to feel like you've been prepared. Well, what if they do this? What if they do that? And I'm sorry you had to hear that. I didn't know.
I would be sitting there like, dude, they have never done it. Like, if they do it, we'll just trust our rules. But I haven't seen it, Like, I think we'll just make a call and go. But it was, I look back on that now. Those are like the funny things of that 2 hours or 2.5 hours before, a game of it's the thing people don't see, right? Like the
it's
build
almost
up.
too much time. Your mind starts to play tricks on you.
100%. I often think back, like, I should have just got there an hour before, put my uniform on, went out and warmed up, and would go. But there's some beauty to that too. But that wasn't how it was.
No, that's what I miss most, man. And you could probably say the same. After those big wins, people ask me, what do I miss? I don't miss the way my body felt on a Monday morning. I miss being in a locker room with the guys after a big win, or being on the back of bus 3.
Yep.
I had Selfo on here. You're following Selfo, so you don't have a tough act to follow on here. But I had Claybo, and we talked about the back of bus 3. Where it was a kind of VIP.
Yeah.
You had to get invited to the back of bus 3. You couldn't just go sit back there. And I think we had some rookies at times that Claybo ran off. Go find another bus. But I miss, after a big win, sitting on the back of bus 3 and drinking a beer and just thinking about what we had just accomplished and the work that we had put in for that week. And just miss hanging out with the guys, And I think what you're doing now with CBS, it's like you're going in and you still have a locker room around you with the guys that you get to talk football. But that's what I miss about the game the most.
I'm with you, man. I think it's so weird too. It's the road games that I remember.
Absolutely.
Right? Like I definitely remember the home games too, but like the home games, everybody, we all got to know each other's families, right? And so you'd be leaving the dome and you'd see people's families, but then you would get in your car and you would go back with your family, which is cool and is, what you should do. But the road games were unique because it was just us, right? And so you said it, you get on the back of bus 3, we'd have a beer. Tony Gonzalez would be, making fun of us because we were drinking Miller Lights, and he would say they're banquet beers, and he'd have his high class Stellas or something like that, right? He'd be joking with us, but to me, it was those road games, right? You get on the back of the bus, or we'd be flying back, and you're all together, whether you're playing cards, just hanging out, chopping it up. Like I think those are the things you miss, and there's something to it, like when you're all together and you know how hard you've worked to get a result that you want. Like there's really nothing cooler than that. And in the same vein, it's almost like even in those losses too, as pissed as we all were, we were all together, and there was, I used to find so much comfort in that, like as an individual player, of being like, all right, like maybe I didn't play my best, or I might have thrown a pick at the end of the game that cost us, right? And I know everybody's pissed, but you get back in the back of that bus and you're surrounded, or you're like in a safe place, right?
No, you're absolutely right, man. And I love that about it too. You talk about it because we're able to, even after a loss, you go through it and you hear, I think as pro athletes, sometimes you look at and you feel like everybody, a quarterback position in particular, everybody's looking at you. But on the back of bus 3, we're all sitting there thinking what we all did wrong, and during my career, you can ask Heidi, if we played a away game or a home game, I always had the DVR recording at home. I could not go to sleep until I came back and I watched that tape, because there's some things you're like, man, what happened? Why didn't I make that block, or why didn't I do that? And you go back and see it, and you're able to go to sleep because things aren't always as good as you feel like they are, but they're not as bad as they seemed either. So that was one thing, but being able to talk about it and talk about the things we could have done better, that was special too, man.
For sure.
Great times.
I always struggled. I'm with you. I always struggled, after games, like turning my brain off. And I know we would talk about this all the time, right? Like, hey, did you get any sleep last night on Sunday night? And you're like, I didn't fall asleep until like 3, and I was up at 6:30 or 6, whatever. It was that shutting off your brain, because you were thinking about, and it was never the good stuff, right? It was always the bad stuff that would creep in there, and you'd be like, God, I should have done that. I should have been able to do that. And the weird thing is, it never got better for me as I played. You know what I mean? Like that part never changed.
Right.
Everybody's like, "Oh, your experience, you're able to, compartmentalize and put it away." I'm like, "No, I never got it. I was probably better at it when I was 23 than I was when I was 37."
Cared a little less. Huh?
Yeah,
no, I'm with
exactly.
you on that, man. Matt, when did for you, I think for me it was year 3 and 4 when the game started to slow down a little bit for me. When did you feel comfortable? I mean, you were as good as I've seen early, as a rookie. But when did you get to where the game really started to slow down for you?
I think you're probably right. I think it's probably year 3. Like I think that first year everything's just moving so fast, and you're really just trying to keep your head above water, and just survive. And it's all kind of that first year for me is kind of a blur, right? And then you look back on it and you start to get ready for your second season, and that second season's dangerous, right? Because
Right.
you think you think you're a vet now, right? I've got this figured out a little bit, and then it hits you again. You're like, oh, actually, I don't know, right? And then you get into that space where you're comfortable. And for me, it was really probably year 3 where I started to feel like that. Like I could get us in and out of a protection if we needed to change something, right? And I felt
Right.
comfortable to be able to do that. I never really had to do it very often, because you were so good up front of being able to do that. But I felt comfortable in that space, or like running our no huddle stuff. Getting
That's
up to the
where
line
you
of scrimmage.
excel, man. I
Yeah.
always felt like, to me, when we were in our no huddle stuff, and I know you can't do it all game long because your receivers, their tongues will be hanging out. But when you operated our no huddle, if we had time on the clock, you always executed at a high level because, and even young, early in your career, you had an understanding and a grasp. And I can remember Mike Malarkey sitting in front of the room at Georgia Tech Hotel, and he was a proud papa. You would get up there and rehearse the first 15, and he was like looking at you, smiling, like my dude's got it.
Dude,
You were
I
always
remember doing that one time, and I think we were in Minnesota, right? And Malarkey got up with his spiel on the first 15 and how we were going to handle Jared Allen, right? He's like, we're going to come down, we're going to wham him, we're going to whack him, we're going to do all this stuff. And he's like, Matt, get up and talk about Texas, which was our no huddle stuff. And I was like, we're going to do the same thing, man. We're going to whack them. We're going to wham them. I don't even care what we're running, but I just remember doing that. And I used to love getting into that, though, because I felt like our group at that time, there was a rhythm to it, right?
right.
And so I don't know how you felt, but like, I feel like you guys would know what I was going to call based on, and you were like expecting it, and nobody hesitated. And we could run the football, drop back and throw it. We could do kind of whatever we wanted, but it's pretty crazy to think, like, if you look back on it now, that Mike Malarkey would really just let us go do our own thing out there. I mean, there was no play calls coming in or anything, right?
And I loved it, man. And I think for us up front, and even for you, it simplified what the defense could do. If they were going to blitz, they had to show it quick, and they got generic, and then the D-line got tired and the pass rush slowed down. I always loved it and always loved the way you ran it, man. It was just unbelievable. Y'all, I'm not going to keep you too long, Matt. Matt's in Vegas getting ready for the Super Bowl, has some obligations, but there's a couple more things I want to talk about. And I know it's just a matter of time. I got the opportunity 2 years ago to go in the Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor. And, I would think pretty soon here you're going to be coming up. And I can't wait to see that, man. It's a, special group, and definitely honored to be in that group. And, what you've done for Atlanta, what you did for the franchise, for that city, the best ever in that franchise. It's you look at the numbers, no lie. And I can't wait, and then after that, like I talked about, people ask me all the time and ask me, are you going to get a gold jacket one day? And I'm going to start that campaign, man, because I look at what you've done, your career, your body of work, and it's a no doubter for me. And you're a pro, like I talked about it. The way you approached it, the way you approached the game, the way you handled your business, man, was just unbelievable. And,
well,
I'm proud to say I was a teammate, man, and got to snap the ball to you.
I mean, you're nice. It's hard to respond to any of that stuff.
No, I know.
But to me, like, it is a special group when you talk about the Ring of Honor, for the Falcons, and even think about the players that we did it with, right? And how there's guys in there, from that space with you and Roddy, and it does mean something, man, and it means a lot. It would mean a lot to me, if and when that happens, and because, I mean, you're talking about stuff that had gone on since the 60s, right? And just a handful of guys that are a part of that. And I was so happy for you. And just like, it's so well deserved. And I think oftentimes, certain position groups, like the position group, you play quarterback, you get recognition. You play wide receiver, you get recognition. But, the guys up front or on the defensive line, like, there's a lot of times where you don't get it, and to be recognized for your contribution to what you did for the organization, just being, kind of the centerpiece of that offensive line, for the better part of a decade, and just providing stability. You talk about the number of starts that you had consecutive that, somehow my skinny body was able to pass. And then, like we said, Jake Matthews is just cruising right by us. He's unbelievable. But, it's so well deserved for you, and it is a special group. But hopefully, I can be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple more things, Matt. Now, I like to try to bring up what you did your early years, like coming up. What sports did you play? I know you were a 3-sport guy, right?
Yeah,
played a little basketball, a little baseball, shortstop, and But I think I remember you weren't always a quarterback, right? You played a little tight end. Tell that story.
Yeah. So I didn't play tight end very well, but I did. I played, I played football, basketball, and baseball all the way through high school. And I mean, the times were different, like kids specialized, I feel like, so much earlier now than like we did, growing up, which is kind of a shame. But that's a whole, different discussion to go down. But, yeah, I played all kinds of different positions, starting in second grade playing football. And I didn't really play quarterback until 7th or 8th grade. So there was, 5 or 6 years of playing these different positions. Played some tight end, was playing defensive end, played fullback for a little while. And, I think there was a realization of how hard those positions, like there's an understanding from playing different positions of, in a small way, the challenges that come with that. But I was no good, right? Like I was not very good at any of these other spots. I was kind of tall and skinny and not that fast. And, but I tried. And then finally, like we got into 8th grade or 7th or 8th grade. I can't remember, but, I was messing around basically before practice throwing. And they were like, dude, what are we doing? Like you've been playing the wrong spot. You're gonna go play quarterback this year. And I was like, all right, cool. And it really, obviously changed my life. But I love playing the other sports just as much, right?
What was your first love?
Basketball.
Come on, basketball.
Shoot it, huh? Yeah, I could shoot it a little bit, but to me, yeah, I mean, I loved playing basketball more than anything. And then honestly, baseball was probably my second favorite. Football was like my third,
That's crazy.
But I just happened to, I mean, I loved playing all of them, but like if I had to rank them, it was probably basketball, baseball, then football. But, I just happened to be the right size, the right build, the right, skill set. Yeah. For that sport. But, I really think playing those other sports helped me, and I think, you and I have talked about that in the past of just, what playing different sports does for kids and kind of developing competitiveness, but also giving yourself a break too, right?
Yeah. I worry about that sometimes. Like you talked about, my youngest is a sophomore now, and he's decided to just go with baseball, and it's harder. Like you talked about, you feel like if you don't specialize, you're getting behind. But sometimes, year round, muscles need a break. Your mind needs a break. I wish kids were able to play, multiple sports. It's just harder. The times are different now,
Yeah,
so.
No, the time, I mean, and they're so like further advanced than we were, at least in my opinion.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
like I remember getting to Boston College, so I ran the triple option in high school for football, right? Which was, I don't know why, but that's what we did, right? And so I remember getting to BC and like them talking about pass protection, and like I was like, pass protection, like what? Like what do you mean? We gotta like we have like different pass protections. Like we only have one in high school or whatever.
That's crazy.
And so, but that like something like that would never happen now, right? Like this,
everybody's running a spread. Everybody's throwing it now. It's definitely advanced for sure.
Yeah.
Well, when Matt, you got Marshall and Johnny and Cal. When are you going to get into coaching, or have you started already? Because I know that's in your cards to coach those guys.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've helped out. They started T-ball. My two older ones, Marshall and Johnny, they started T-ball 2 years ago. So I've helped out, with their baseball the last couple of years, and I mean it's really cool. Like right. It from having done it. It's really cool to be able to see these kids get better, and almost like the cool thing of coaching is it's not even necessarily your kids, but like you see some of these other kids that where they were when they started and how much better they got, during the course of it. Like I've really enjoyed that part, and I think the refreshing part, is from being a professional athlete for so long. It's hard to see improvement with NFL players. Like it's right. You don't. We say you're searching for like 1%, but a lot of it looks the same every day, right? Yeah. And it's like it doesn't jump out. But when you get kids, like the exponential improvement you see just from like one practice to another and then to a game, it's refreshing to see.
No, it definitely is. It's rewarding.
I've really enjoyed that part, and so. I like doing that stuff. I like being involved. We did flag football, with those guys this fall. It was kind of a disaster. I'm not going to lie to you. With 5-year-olds, it's confusing. You're trying to get guys lined up. I got parents telling me we needed more plays, and I'm like, more plays? We can't run the one play that we have. Like, we need to chill out on the more plays and that stuff. But it's been I've really enjoyed that part of it. Coaching them and just seeing them have fun and get better has been rewarding.
That's awesome, man. Last thing, we got to talk about it. Our Birds, hiring Coach Raheem. I know y'all were together a little bit there, right?
Yep.
With that staff. I feel like, just my opinion, I feel like he's a great hire. A fresh mind to come in, and you're bringing the guy over from McVay's staff to run the offense. And I mean, you look back at the Shanahan tree with Shanahan, McVay, and well, of course, what McDonald's doing down there in Miami. It seems like those offenses are having the most success. I'm excited about it. I've heard you talk about it a little bit. It'll be interesting to see what the Falcons do behind center, I think that's one area that's going to be an interesting thing. Are they going to go get an older guy, or are they going to try to draft a guy? I don't know if you can talk about it. What's your opinion on the whole situation?
Well, yeah, let me start with Raheem. I was with him in Atlanta for 6 years. Right. And so the cool thing I think about him was I saw him in all kinds of different roles, right? So he came in, he started on the defensive side of the ball. We had, we needed help on the offensive side of the ball in the wide receiver room. So he just switches and becomes wide receiver coach and works with, Julio Jones. I mean, Julio's a great teammate, but it's hard to coach superstars, right? Like there's a knack to it, right? You've got to be able to push those guys. He was awesome with that. Julio, was incredibly productive during that time, and I think that working relationship was really good. But I saw it from a quarterback perspective of like, hey, Ra, I need help with this. I need you to push, this with these guys. Understand they've got to be at the top of the route here. Whatever. I thought he was really good in that role. And then Then we struggle on the defensive side of the ball, and Dan Quinn's like, "Hey, you got to go back. You got to call plays on the, you got to be my DC." And he steps into that role, and then ultimately, becomes interim head coach for us for that stretch in 2020. So I saw him in all these different roles, and I think when you see people, be able to coach regardless of the position, be able to coach, right? Be able to get the best out of guys. You then understand, okay, this guy, he gets it. He understands, what he has to do to motivate players to get the best out of them. The football acumen is there. He's a smart football coach. But I think more so than anything, he's really good at being able to show guys he cares, about them personally, and then be able to understand that everybody's a little bit different, and how you need to motivate guys is different. He's really good in that sense. So I think he's going to be excellent in terms of getting the culture right, getting guys playing hard, all of those things. I think the staff he's putting together, I really like it. Like the guy Zach Robinson from LA that you mentioned, from that McVay tree. I think it's, to me, it's those offenses are the ones that are playing the best football in the league right now. And it really goes back to, Alex Gibbs, right? Like your old offensive line coach.
No, and that was another one. You talk about guys switching over. Alex was under Woody Hayes at Ohio State as a defensive backs coach. He learned the game from the defensive side first, and then he switched over and became one of the best offensive line coaches ever because he learned the game from that side, what defenses were trying to do.
100%. And Alex was an innovator, in the run game and how he taught the run game. And all of those systems really have kind of stemmed from that, that outside zone scheme where you're going to stretch one cut, get down vertical, and move sideline to sideline. But they've morphed, right? Like they've evolved and changed. But to me, those coaches, that tree, that style of offensive football puts the most pressure on a defense, makes them defend everything, right? And so I really like, that hire, and, some of the guys that he's kind of put on the offensive staff, to support Zach, I think are really good on the defensive side. I think that's where Raheem, his kind of baby is, right? Like he's going to be on top of that side of the ball. So I like the staff that they're putting together, but then you get to the quarterback position and what they have to do. And, I'm seeing Death Valley there in the background. There's a pretty good guy. There was a pretty good player, who had a pretty good year, down there. That would be interesting. I think they need to be aggressive in terms of either you might need to move up to get who you want, and I'm okay with that because I think you've got to solidify that position, and get some continuity there. That's going to help you for the next, hopefully, 10 plus years. And if you got to move up to do it, I wouldn't be scared if you feel like the right person is there. Or they go the veteran route and feel like their team is good enough around them. I'll be interested to see. Like, I haven't talked to Raheem about that. When I talked to him, it was just, congratulations and all of that stuff. And, I'm sure that they've got a plan for it. But priority number one, at least to me, is making sure that position gets right, so that you can then kind of build all of the pieces that you need around it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was awesome, man. All right, last thing, and I'm going to let you go. I know you got a lot to do. You may not be able to comment on this yet. Super Bowl, who you got, man? Two great offenses. You look at the juggernaut that San Fran has when they're hitting all cylinders, when Debo's healthy. And you can never bet against Patrick Mahomes, who's just unreal, and him and Kelsey and that offense seem like they're meshing at the right time. What's your gut feeling? Can you predict that yet? Or
I mean, I'm with you. I look at San Francisco and I'm like, this is, to me, probably the most complete team. They can beat you offensively. They can beat you playing good defense. Kyle's a great coach. All of those things. But then I look at what Kansas City, the teams that they've beaten the last couple of weeks to get here. They knocked off Buffalo, who was as hot as anybody in the league. And then really the team who had the best year up until that point, Baltimore, they kind of went down and shut them down,
yeah,
right?
Unreal.
And the thing I like about Kansas City is they're a run first team right now. You know, you think of them as like this wide open pass game, but yeah, they run angry and they're physical and they're playing good defense. I just think sometimes there's these guys like a Brady or Mahomes or whatever that just have this knack of finding ways to win. And you know, to me, I look at it. I think they're both really good teams. I think it's going to be a great game, but I think Mahomes, I think he gets it done. I really do. I think he finds a way, like he's done the last couple of weeks, to get the job done. And I think that happens because they play good defense and they run the football.
Yeah, and that's what I think my household, my daughter's a big Swiftie fan, so we're pulling for the Chiefs. I love Mahomes. I love what he does in that group.
He to me, I love him as a leader, man, because I look at him and, you know, we talked about it earlier of like, you know, everybody playing together. He looks like he's got his guys' backs, right? And they have his, and like
Absolutely.
It's genuine.
He's like, not a guy that talks down to his team. He's constantly motivating, and it's not like he puts himself on a pedestal. You know, he feels like he's one of the guys and trying to do things together. You nailed that one, you know, and that's what makes him a great leader.
100%. Like, I think it's so important, you know, for a superstar to not act like, you know, to just be a teammate, to be one of the guys in the locker room. And I think he's nailed that part of it. It's been fun to watch.
All right, brother. I know we can sit here and blow for days, but I just want to tell you how much you mean to me, man, over my career and what you allowed my family to be able to do because of what you did at quarterback. The times we had, the memories we made was just special, man. And I appreciate you taking the time to come on. I had to track you down. You know, your phone number changes more than the minute hand on the clock, but hey, I got a hold of Sarah. We got it, man. And,
you went to the boss, bro.
Yeah, I went to the boss. So
you went to the boss.
Enjoy your time out there, man. I'm proud of you. Love calling you one of my ex-teammates, and keep it going, brother.
Todd, thank you, man. I got to say this. You know, I think you get lucky in life. At least I feel this way, that I've been lucky in life that you run into people that you need to run into at the right time of your life. And for me, I look back on the, you know, 5 years that we got to play together in Atlanta, and how lucky was I, you know, to be able to learn from a guy like you, like the ultimate pro of how to lead, how to work, how to treat people, how to play with toughness and grit. And then, you know, also like just how lucky was I to have that guy you mentioned in the, you know, training room, right? That, yeah, I could act tough and all of this stuff in front of the other guys and be, I'm good. But to have, you know, that confidant in the locker room that you trust to be able to say, you know, maybe I'm not that good, man. Maybe I am hurting a little bit, and I'm going to need your help like this week to get to where we need to go. I'm so thankful, you know, that I got to play with you for as long as I did, and also, you know, that you were a huge impact on my life and my development as a player, because I think it really changed. It really changed. You know, it helped me change to be the person that I needed to be, you know, throughout my career. And man, it was a blast. It was fun playing together for that long, and I'm thankful that we were able to do it.
All right, I'm not going to cry or anything, get emotional, but I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for coming on, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also find us on all of your favorite podcast platforms. If you like this episode, holler at your boy. I want to hear what you thought about it.